We live?
I'm waiting for it to go live now.
Please stand by.
Yeah, let's watch you.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:34, 6:35. Everyone stand please for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's do roll call. Dr. Miller. Are we starting with our students?
Mr. Brian is going to introduce them.
Yes,
We'll do roll call after you introduce them, okay?
so I want to welcome to the table for their first night, our two very proud warm Wolverines from Oxford High School. We have Lindsay Kim and Brandon Rose, who will be joining you as your new student reps for the Board of Education. The administrative team chose them at very high value for their recommendations given to us by the staff. Not only are they people who make us proud academically, but also in their individual pursuits, whether they be athletic or otherwise. And I know that there'll be great voices for here at the table. So welcome to Lindsay and Brandon.
Congratulations, guys. So at the beginning of every meeting, we do a roll call. I'm gonna start with you guys. You just have to state your name.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Kim.
Brandon Rose.
Nicole Libby McCraft. Debbie Sherman.
Benny Cannadella.
Mike Huso.
Robert Carr.
Tom Brasco.
Sue Condit.
Steve Kozer.
All right, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
I do. I'd like to make a motion to add an audience to citizens after the approval of the minutes and before board correspondence in accordance with our board bylaw 9325-2 entitled Order of Business.
Second. Is there a second? Second. Discussion.
What was the policy number?
It's a bylaw and it's 9325.2 Order of Business.
I can't get on. Amendments to the agenda.
I agree.
Can there be comments or,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, because having been on the board for 7 years, we had a procedure where it was late or after the board meeting. And it really wasn't conducive to actually having a good audience because parents have things to do, places to go. And I think they want to get their opinions and things in place early. And it was a courtesy that we offered a number of years ago after dialogue and stuff. So,
I don't have a problem with it at all. We can put it back. Anybody else? Yeah, you know what? We need a little bit of peace in our time, so let's just put it back. So it's, so all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. So we will have audience of citizens, when exactly was it, Nicole? Between 3 and 4?
Minutes.
After the minutes are
After
approved.
minutes, but before board correspondence.
Okay. That does work. Fantastic.
Yep.
I got 100. Right. Okay, is there a motion to accept the Board of Education regular meeting minutes for 10/8/24?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Board of Ed regular meeting minutes from 10/8/24.
Do you have a second,
Second.
Nicole? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 10/15/24 Board of Ed special meeting minutes.
I'll
See
second.
those.
Yeah, I came up late today, I think.
They were added yesterday.
Oh, yes, sir. Do we have a second?
I second.
And all those in favor, or discussion, I'm sorry. It's my first day.
I'd like to make an edit I was actually an abstain on the vote.
Did I type that wrong? I'm sorry, Steve.
That's okay.
That's my bad. I went back and rewatched it. I just a typo. I'll fix it.
So. Does another motion need to be?
It has it in there as an abstain.
No,
No,
it says,
I just clicked it and it shows abstain.
Did you just fix it in real time? No?
No, I have it as an abstain.
I just pulled it up, it says.
Oh, that was the first.
I just pulled it up just the second.
The first one was the point of order, and we voted on that, and then we had
my
to vote.
fault, my fault.
The vote at the bottom.
Yeah, it's down at the bottom paragraph.
Okay, good.
Steve, do you retract your?
I retracted, yeah, I got the wrong section, my apologies.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions?
I'm gonna abstain just because I haven't read the whole thing.
Okay, so Nicole abstains. Motion passes. All right, let's lead into our audience of citizens. Just very quickly, when you come up to the mic, or to the podium, or if you want to stay there, that's fine. Just please state your name and your address for the record. And whoever wants to go first can go first. Yeah,
Come up here.
you can stand there if you like. You can stay right there.
I'll go to the podium.
Sure.
I've long been past politics, but I thought I would come to your meeting. I have heard some things about the meeting and I wanted to meet you, Robert, and say hello. I'm Kathy Johnson, former first selectman of the town of Oxford. And, I want to view this committee as a nonpartisan committee. I want to view this committee that they're here only for the children. And I believe that almost all of you are here for that very reason. I would never say you weren't. But I don't want to think of this committee as a Republican committee or a Democrat committee. I don't ever want to worry about being a good Democrat or good Republican, first and foremost, a good person. And so, because I've lived in this town a long time, and I saw this town through a lot of difficult situations, I just thought I would get up and say something about my concerns. So, Michael, I'm just gonna sit here, but I am a little worried about what was said at the last meeting. I heard it on tape, and I'm being honest with you. And, that's all.
You think I'm the board chair?
I think
Not to
you are.
interact.
I'm the board chair.
You're the board chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, forgive me, I'm gonna fall back on my best excuse, I'm 77. Okay, so, okay, Robert, yes, I was concerned. And in Oxford here, couple of people on your board, one especially I appointed, I always viewed this board as only for the children. And we have two young people here. Congratulations to the two of you. I know you're gonna do a good job and you're gonna learn about Oxford and politics and how things are done. So that's all I'm gonna say to you. I don't know you as a person, so I'm certainly not going to berate you. Just come up and I have a concern about it. If you have anything you'd like to say to me, Mr. Carr, I wouldn't mind.
The only thing I have to say, Kathy, is actually we have met a few times. We've actually been on some caucuses together.
Oh,
So we have met, and I appreciate your comments and thank you for number one, your service to the town,
thank
and
you.
thank you for your comments tonight.
And thank you, and I'm sorry I hadn't remembered
That's
that I
okay.
met you. I'm lucky I remember my own name.
That's okay.
But anyway, thank you all for listening. I felt that I had to come up and say something.
Yeah.
Take care.
Anybody else?
Sure, I'll go. Molly Smith, 24 Good Hill Road. You all know me, I sit here every week. I'm here with you in the through it. There's been a lot happening, but I want you to all remind you that the center of everything you do is to ensure a quality education for these children. It is your job to support our teachers. It is your job as a board to support our administrators and making sure that the administrators are in the buildings doing their job. I hope
and pray you guys can pull it all together for our children. As parents, we have rallied behind you and you have our support. Right now, we're on edge. We don't know how to go with this board. You have a lot to earn it back as a board for parent trust so that we are ensured that our children are safe too. So,
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Ellen Fox, 522 Traditions Court North in Oxford, Connecticut. I know some of you from past experiences, whether it's through the Booster Club, Sue, or through interactions through this Board of Ed, or you know, on the DTC, what Michael from meeting you and, you know, at the carnival, Bobby, of course, I know Lori and,
Yeah.
and I know you
Yes,
and Victor. We've had several conversations. I just came because I felt deeply saddened that a letter that was written on my behalf to Voices dated October 10th by 3 minority members of the Board of Education in support of my candidacy for state rep came into question by the majority members. And the headline of the letter was chosen by the newspaper. You do realize that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, not by the 3 individuals who endorsed my candidacy. I'm a former educator. I taught for 21 years in the state of Connecticut. I taught in inner city schools. I taught in urban, I taught in Hamden. I taught in New Fairfield, and I taught in Ridgefield. And I have a degree in, I've got my master's degree in education, and I have my 092 in educational leadership. Okay, so as a former educator in Connecticut with over 2 decades of experience, it boggled my mind that other members of the Board of Education thought that the letter that was written on my behalf was so controversial, so egregious, so awful, that they needed to make an example of Deb Sherman and push her out as board chair. Deb has served as on the Board of Education for approximately 1 decade. Her own kids are grown, and she's doing this because she doesn't have an agenda. It's because she loves kids and she cares about their well-being. She's worked conscientiously and enthusiastically with other members of the Board of Education to create a positive environment for students, parents, teachers, administrators, and staff. Through her disciplined efforts on behalf of the families whose children attend the public schools, she's provided effective leadership and demonstrated the ability to move the system forward. And watching the Board of Ed meeting last night, or watching it on videotape, Nicole had pointed out that Victor had written a letter on behalf of Arnie. Bobby, you wrote a letter on behalf of Arnie. And would Deb have been removed had the letter been for Arnie? Is endorsing an educator who actually would pass policies if I got up to Hartford on behalf of your kids something that is such a terrible notion to the members of the Board of Education? Would it be abhorrent to have a teacher actually sitting on the education committee up in Hartford to advocate for more funding and resources for the schools in Oxford? There are a lot of state statutes that you're gonna have to learn and follow. And you guys are made up of members who bring firsthand experience of classroom dynamics, curriculum and challenges faced by students and teachers to the Board of Education. You can provide insight into policies that support educators effectively. There are parents on the board representing the interest of families. Business professionals sit on your board and bring expertise in budgeting and financial management and strategic planning. There are community leaders who connect with diverse constituencies and engage community voices. There's an attorney on your board who provides insight into law, contracts, and compliance with state and federal regulations and can help to navigate the legal challenges related to education policy. The anger and vitriol on display at that meeting was shocking and disappointing. As a teacher, I had never seen that. I never saw it in Ridgefield, never. School settings are always supposed to be safe places, including for other elected members on the Board of Education, regardless of party affiliation. For the new chair to threaten a longtime member of his own party and warn him to fall into line or to run the risk of not being put back up for consideration was both disturbing. I couldn't believe what I heard, and he's done so much. Steve, you've done so much to positively effectuate change in the school system, and people notice. And it's on behalf of the families in this town and the Oxford Public School System. I would like to see the Board of Education make a commitment to public education and student success, remain nonpartisan, and focus on policy rather than politics. And I'm sure you find it funny that I'm up here speaking, but I'm first a teacher. That's how I identify myself. I love kids, and I wasn't fortunate to have my own, so I went into teaching specifically to work with children. And my hope for this board is that you can get it together, because what I saw last week was just not something that I would like to see. And you have my promise that if I am elected, I will be sitting on that education committee and getting money and getting the things and the resources that you need to do your job the best way possible as parents and business people and attorneys and community leaders and members of this Board of Education. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Ellen. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
No, I guess. My name is Amy Saris, 120 Freeman Road. Many of you have, well, I hope know that, for this past year, since 2023, I've been one of the parents that have been advocating for our students and for the betterment of our buildings. I've been attending town meetings, and I've spoken with Debbie Sherman, I've spoken with Dr. Miller, questioning how come conditions of our buildings are the way that they are, how come funding isn't coming through. Dr. Miller and Debbie Sherman have been the only people who have given me honest answers that I have been able to confirm by facts. I've spoken to our first selectman, I've spoken with Mr. Jensen, I've spoken with our Board of Finance director, and I am told lies or untruths to make the public believe that things are happening when they are not. They often turn the Board of Ed to be the bad guys. Why aren't you using your operating budget to maintain these buildings? That is something that Mr. Jensen has said. He asked why your ARPA funds weren't used to do the pool pack. And as you guys know, you put $100,000 into the pool pack and $100,000 into security upgrades and did other things. Your Board of Ed, the surplus that you guys were able to get was out of proactive work by you. That was turned against you and tried to take $1 million away from our school budget this year. That upsets me. It upsets me that we have people at the town hall who are taking facts and using them against us. So to hear you have unwavering support for Mr. Jensen is concerning, because he is not the person who has been going after our funding for our schools. He's been turning things against us. There are, Mr. Carr, I know in your letter you didn't reference the fact that you are serving on the Board of Ed, but your information that you put in your letter is directly related to your role as being on the Board of Ed. You also discussed the early voting requirements costing our town $100,000 in additional funds. I'm not sure where that number came from. Looking at the town's budget, it looks like 56,000 may have been for early voting. There was also another 20,000 that was in there because we needed to purchase air conditioning and heating for Great Oak. The reason we don't have heat and air conditioning in our schools is because of town hall. 8 years, we've known from our facility study that these have been urgent priority projects. Where is the people standing up and saying, our schools deserve better? Our kids shouldn't be cold. It's not just poll workers who need heat. And our schools are used in the summer for summer school. It's not just during the year, and it's getting warmer. And it's not right. Victor, you had sent a letter in support of Mr. Jensen as well. The Board of Ed relocation, there you are, that was something used against you. They tried to make it sound as if you were moving out of center school and making bad decisions for this school. It was because they want to put the police station in there, which they are doing now. That was a good, you had to move. This school building was supposed to be renovated as new. That was the promise. Then it was going to be renovated in phases. This building does not have fire suppression in it. It does not have updated insulation, and the ceiling tiles have not been replaced. Why is that? Because Mr. Temple and Mr. Jensen said that they were too costly. They could have done it in line with doing the HVAC system. That saves money for the town down the road. Some of it was stuff that would have been able to have gotten under the grant for the HVAC system. Anyways, we have a candidate who is up for election. I don't care what party she is. She's the candidate that's going to support our schools, and she's going to work for our kids at the state. Mr. Jensen has proven time and time again, he doesn't care. It's dollars. It's always the dollars. Taxes, the reason why our schools are in the condition they are is because of taxes. I think our kids deserve better. He shouldn't be at the state representing us if that's who we want for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very well said.
Does anybody else like to speak? Would anybody else like to speak? Would anybody else like to speak? Hearing none, we're going to move into board correspondence and communication.
Nothing.
All right, some information items. Dr. Miller?
Yeah, so welcome to the Board of Education. And as the first act, we've asked them to actually make a presentation tonight to talk about the experiences at high school up to this point of the year. So I'm going to turn it over to the two of you and put it on the screen here, and I'm going to share it through camera.
So our school recently had Spirit Week, so if you could just move on to the next slide.
Yes, no.
It's okay. Yeah, so this is our pep rally at our high school. So it's a really nice time where we have it a couple times a year, where students are doing a bunch of games like basketball and tug of war, and students are designated into each section of the assembly. So seniors are on one side, and then the sophomores and juniors, and we're all cheering for each other. And basically Mr. Houston was introducing all the fall sports, so basketball in the winter, sorry, gymnastics, dance, football, soccer, and all those other sports. So it was very nice, and students were cheering for each other, and it really enhanced our school spirit. So I thought it was really nice, and a lot of students enjoy it too because they can participate in these games. And we also have during Spirit Week, I didn't have any of the photos, but we have so each day, we have a designated theme. So on Monday, students dress like teachers and teachers dress like students. And then on Tuesday, we have twin days. So we match with another person. And then Wednesday, we have Decades Day. So we dress 1970s fashion or 1960s. And then Thursday and Friday, we wear our school color. And it's just a really fun, week to, promote, OHS school spirit and stuff like that.
And then we also recently had homecoming. So student council actually organizes this. Me and Brandon are both in student council, and we organize things like, you know, school events and like parties. So these are just a couple pictures. But at our homecoming this year, we had like mini golf, and we had like this Velcro wall. So like students jump in, like they stick to the wall. But it was very nice and like, it was very enjoyable. Yeah. And then our next one, we had Color War. So this was one of our big ones. So this was a photo that I recently organized to get our senior class together to take a photo. I just thought it was nice to capture like the moment, you know. But the Color Wars is basically like an annual event where students come together and they decorate their own hallway, and it's kind of like a competition of like who has the best hallway. So these are all our seniors like helping to prepare. We prepared like a month in advance for this because we needed time, and the class offices organize this. I'm president and Brandon's secretary, so like they kind of organize and get all our class together. So this is also the process of decorating, and these are like some of the freshmen decorating. And so we like basically spend like a couple weeks, you know, painting and all that. And then we have like this one day where we have to decorate everything and like within like 2 hours. But like last year I panicked, we didn't have enough time, but this was a result for the freshman hallway. So their color theme was gray. So their theme was, I think, medieval castle or something, haunted castle, something like that. Yeah. And then this was the sophomores, their color was blue, so their theme was under the sea. So this is how they decorated it. And then this was the juniors, so their color was white, as you can see, and their theme was Polar Express. And then this was our hallway. Our theme was Gotham City Batman. And I have a lot of photos just to show, but this was our outcome. We prepared a lot and we ended up winning, side note. So these are, and these are some of like the pictures I took of our class together. It was very nice and very fun. Yeah, and that's about it for what, oh yeah, also, yeah, we also had newly inducted members of National Honor Society, so mostly all the juniors and stuff. Yeah, and that's about it.
Okay, and then we have some other events that are coming up at Oxford High School. Tomorrow, our underclassmen are taking their PSATs. And seniors have the option to go into school to work on their capstone project or work on college applications. And seniors are working through their capstones and they're submitting their capstone proposals. For example, my capstone is I'm going to Quaker Farms to start a unified sports program there. So the seniors have a wide variety of capstones where they're making a difference in society. And they're doing this through job shadowing, through research, or just finding their own way to be involved. In sports, our teams have recently been having their senior nights. Our volleyball team's senior night is tomorrow night. Our boys soccer team's senior night was last week. And our sports teams are beginning to prepare for NBL postseason games. And finally, students in AP classes are beginning to sign up for those and beginning to get signed up to take the exam in May.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well done. School improvement plans.
So at this point, Quaker Farms and Grade O, Amy and Rachel, if we can together. Thank you together. Welcome.
Good evening. Lindsay and Brandon, welcome. Great presentation. I can see what I'm Brandon, welcome to Quaker Farms back. In regards to the capstone projects, just as a side note, Brandon is doing his capstone project at Quaker Farms along with 4 other Oxford High School students. So we're super excited to have you. So welcome back.
We hope you don't mind, we're presenting together again this year. We're working really hard to align our goals, not just with the district goals, but as a K-5 cohesive unit. So like we did last year, we're going to kind of take turns going quickly through the district goals, and then we'll each share our school specific goals with you and answer any questions you have.
Perfect. So I know that you've all heard from Eric a couple weeks ago. So a lot of our goals obviously are tied in with the curriculum goal as well. So our first goal is to access high quality and rigorous instruction. So our school goal is to increase academic outcomes for all students by ensuring access to engaging rigorous learning opportunities.
As you are aware, we've done the DIBELS assessment as well as the IXL, so we're hoping to see that increase about 10%. So I know when Eric had presented, we are still reviewing all of the data as a school-wide. These presentations were due last Wednesday, so again, our closing date was on Friday, so we're still analyzing all of the school-wide data. So information has gone out to parents with parent information reports for both DIBELS and IXL, along with a curriculum letter that Eric had sent out to the district. So we're still analyzing all of that data, but right now you have copies of the numbers for our IXL data. For Quaker Farms, we're only doing the math IXL, whereas Goes is doing the reading and the math. So that information is provided in the packet. We're looking at providing professional development to support the new IXL program. At Goes last year, some of the teachers did pilot the program. This is brand new at Quaker Farms, so we did send out our math coach last week to a full day workshop. He then has brought back that information and he's meeting with each grade level. So this morning he actually met with grade 2 for about an hour going over all of that information, because again, it's a brand new assessment. So making sure that we provide the necessary PD to our staff to make sure that we're doing what's right for kids. We are continuing to hold our monthly literacy and math data team meetings. Our new literacy coach is meeting individually with each teacher, each grade level, going over all of the student data with them. We're providing support and feedback for our professional learning plans, which is part of our teacher evaluation process. So we're working on that. As Eric probably had mentioned, we're creating, revising our ELA and math scope and sequences. So again, we've worked on that all last year, and this is our second year with HMH. So we're really looking at tweaking that scope and sequence to make sure it's exactly what is needed, along with modifying any of our grade level assessment calendars. We're continuing to implement our district science and reading plan by providing opportunities for continued professional development in the area of reading as well. As I had mentioned, this is our second year of HMH. It's a very big program to tackle. Our staff did a wonderful job last year implementing it. And again, this is our second year, so we're just looking at fine tuning the things that maybe didn't work so well, things that we want to refine, make better, improve our own teaching practice, providing curricular resources, teachers K through 5, providing all the necessary materials and resources that our teachers want and need. We've done a really great job, so thank you to the Board of Ed for approving the budget, and we're providing anything that teachers ask, we are giving it. I don't think I've said no yet. So we're giving them all the resources that they need, and they seem to be working very, very well. Our last thing was we're working on K-5 report cards to align our standards. So we are working on, hopefully the first week of November, start looking at report cards, get a team together, make sure that we have representation from staff members, from teachers, from all stakeholders, including parents. We want to make sure that we're looking at other districts' report cards, seeing how they're aligning their standards, and type of report cards, what they look like. So we're going to start that process hopefully sometime in November, but we want to make sure that we also have parent representation on that committee as well.
For the district goal around increasing student voice and participation in decision-making processes, a little bit trickier at the younger grades, but we like to start them early. We actually, our student council, 4th and 5th graders are able to write speeches, and they give the speeches to their homeroom classes, and we have a whole voting process. We're trying to teach them about the election process and what leadership means, so that as they get older, they can do the types of things that you guys are doing. So we are supporting student leadership and empowerment through a lot of our clubs. We added the gardening club this year, which has been very popular. And this year we're looking towards taking the student leadership at the 3-5 level and helping to reach down to the K2 level. Both schools are going to be participating in the Look for the Good project in November. And it's really just a 2-week kind of gratitude campaign. It fits nicely with Simple Seed and spreading positivity. And it was actually all of the resources were provided to us for free this year because of the flood. A group reached out and wanted to share. But our student council will be running that, and they would like to go down and work with the kindergarten when they do that. Our gardening club would like to do some activities later in the year in the spring with Quaker Farms. So from my understanding, having not been here all these years, there used to be a lot more that the schools were able to do together, and a lot of that slowed down during COVID. So we really want to take the opportunity to give our students a chance to come up with their own ideas, have these leadership experiences so that they're ready when they get to the middle and high school to kind of take on those leadership roles.
The next district goal is ensuring the successful integration and development of new staff members to the Oxford Public School through the Oxford New Staff Success Program.
So again, supporting the certified staff that are in teams, so your first year, second year teachers, supporting them, providing mentors. So every certified staff needs a mentor. So making sure that we do that at the beginning of the school year, making sure that they're paired up with someone that's sort of in the realm. So if you have a new grade 2 teacher, you want to make sure that there is a mentor that's at least at Quaker Farms. So really enticing other teachers to go, because you do have to be trained. So offering that as a district to staff who want to go get trained as a mentor. So again, the district has been wonderful at putting that out there to allow staff that would like to go, they are in fact able to go. In regards to supporting job coaching, we want to make sure that we're supporting either brand new staff members or staff members that may have changed grade levels this year. Or in my case, I have 2 long-term substitutes. So we want to make sure that we're providing them with the necessary training. So therefore, our math coach and our literacy coach is going in there more often than other classrooms, just to make sure that those new teachers are feeling supported and that they are supported. Also, the onboarding process that the district has implemented seems to be really effective. So now there's, keys being distributed. There's a whole section of what needs to be done when a new staff member joins the team. So there definitely seems to be more positivity around that things are very organized, that people are getting what they need the first day and not waiting, say a month or 2. They're really getting what they need that immediate day. So really focusing on the onboarding process, encouraging suggestions, meeting with those new staff members, just checking in with them is huge. Again, they're brand new to the district or they may have changed grade levels, making sure, brand new to teaching, making sure that they feel supported and just coming right out and saying, what do you need from me? So having those conversations is definitely key. In regards to maintaining, we want to maintain good staff. And when you have great staff, you want to keep them here. So what other things can we do to make sure that they feel that they're being supported? And that's obviously our job. We want to make sure that happens. Which leads right into the next district goal, which is to support wellness of our staff. And along with that wellness goes morale. The 2 go hand in hand. So as building principals, it's important to us that we really promote that as well as being good models. Expect appropriate work-life balance from our staff, model that, of course, with high expectations, but treat them as individuals. We both have members on the district wellness committee that are able to participate in those planning events and kind of get staff excited about them. And then we all do individual things in our building. We do regular staff breakfasts. Rachel's staff does something a little bit different. We also try and promote team building activities through our monthly staff meetings and grade level meetings. And we will just continue to be empathetic leaders so that our staff does want to stay and realizes that they have a good work-life balance and access to these wellness activities and resources here in Oxford. Quaker Farms, we also developed this year. We had done it a few years ago, probably prior to COVID. We really created a Quaker Farms School Morale Booster Club where we have staff members that join and we meet monthly and just kind of think of things that we can do as a staff just to boost morale and just have fun, whether it's something during school, whether it's a breakfast or a lunch, or things that we can even do outside of school hours and having that balance. And it's nice to just get together and just have fun. They'd like to have fun. We also like to have fun, but just doing those things. So this month, we started I don't tell anyone, it's probably on video, but I started the get food. So I just put little presents in classrooms and it's you've got food and it's a little certificate and there's presents. And then their job is to make a copy of it and then maybe give a little something to somebody else, then hang your I got food. So it's just a little something, but no one knows it was me that started it. So just don't tell anyone. Too late now. Too late now. It is the little things. Teaching can be a very lonely profession because you're in a classroom all day. We updated the staff lounge over the summer and staff were very appreciative. They restarted the Sunshine Club and even little things like we have a lending library of books in the staff lounge now. So people can come in and switch out books. It's little things and it might sound silly, but it all adds up to that morale and that overall wellness that we want to. And Dr. Pete and Dr. Miller, thank you for coming. They came in this afternoon for about an hour with their little treat cart and staff were like, this is the best. I was excited. I had Oreos and a soda. So that was super exciting. So it's just those little things that you're like, oh my God, this is so great. So again, thank you for coming to Quaker Farms. That's my day. So our next district goal was to enhance communication on district news, balanced coverage of academics, extracurricular clubs, etc. Obviously, we're going to continue our weekly newsletter. This one that goes out every Friday. I hope that you all get it. We do send it to you, so I hope you enjoy reading it and looking at the pictures. again, just trying to enhance it with, parent things, parent information that we can provide parents, more pictures. Parents love, my daughter's in high school, so tell her, but if they send out pictures, I want to try to find where she might be. So I know parents love that. So again, including more pictures, providing some parent information. We both created a Facebook page. Be a little hard to create, but I finally was able to create it. So that went out on Friday. So I think I have 78 likes as of Friday or as of today. Just kind of having different modes of communication and actually posting like our SNOR, our letter on there as well. It's just another form of communication, to parents. And we want to just keep those doors of communication open because if that's, we need parent support. And today was our book fair. So this week's has been our book fair. And just the amount of parents that have come in, because we welcome parents come shop with your kids. The amount of parents that have come in, and we obviously are keeping a roster, it's astronomical, which is awesome to see. I think one class had almost, I think it was 90% of the families attended as well. So it's encouraging parents. That's what, I've been in Oxford a very long time. I won't tell you exactly how long, but that's what we're known for. We're known for parent involvement. We encourage parents to come in and be part of our community and just the love of learning. And parents are just so happy to shop. I know it's like maybe 20 minutes of your time, but kids just love it. So we appreciate that. We want to make sure that we're getting it out there in any mode that we can. And then going to school goals. So on top of all those goals, on top of a lot of other things that we're doing that maybe aren't on paper, two major goals that we have at Quaker. One is, as you know, with the HMH program, there was also this piece of a structured literacy component that kind of came out mid-year last year with HMH. It was kind of like sort of there, but not really. So we have continued with our Foundations Phonics program, the structured literacy program. This year, 3 staff members, a K, a 1, and a grade 2 teacher have piloted the HMH structured literacy component, while the other classroom teachers are utilizing the Wilson Foundations program that we've used for many years that teachers absolutely love. But we said, let's see what this HMH structured literacy piece is. It correlates with HMH, we're already purchasing it. Let's see what it entails. So right now I have 3 teachers that are piloting this program, and we are working alongside with Eric and meeting as grade levels, meeting as a team of 3 with Eric and myself to really talk about the scope and sequence of the program. What are some of our likes? What are some of our dislikes? And hopefully our goal by the end of the 24-25 school year is to have, are we staying with the Foundations program? Is this what's best for our kids? Or is this HMH structured literacy piece the best for our students? So that's one of our goals. Our other goal is to understand and implement play-based learning. So there was a state statute, if you're aware, that we have to provide play-based or purposeful play throughout our day. K2, pre-K to 2. So again, what does that entail? So at the end of last year, we did have 3 staff members, 1 staff member from each grade level, who went to just the kind of the beginning phase of professional development, some workshops. There's another workshop that's coming up on Monday, which I'll be attending along with 3 different staff members on purposeful play. So again, we have to incorporate that into our classrooms, where classrooms are given specific time period for purposeful play. If you're not sure what that is, definitely I have a whole, I won't read this to you, but there's a whole section on what purposeful play is, what the benefits are. And again, we have to remember that these students are 5, 6, and 7 years old. It is a it's a statement date. How are we going to implement it effectively so the students are getting the best that they possibly can? So those are our 2 main goals on top of all the other things that we're working on. But I do have a summary of purposeful play that I'd be happy to share with Dr. Miller, who can then share with all of you. And I'll finish up with our school specific goal that goes. This work actually started last year. You might have heard me talk about wanting to implement a WIN block and really strengthen our SRBI or MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support, whichever acronym we're using these days. Regardless of what acronym we're using, we're trying to find the best way to make sure that we are bridging any gaps that students are having in their academics. One of the challenges when I got to GOES was that there was no set intervention time. So interventionists were trying to pull kids, and it became very challenging for the classroom teacher because kids were missing core subjects. So starting this year, after quite a few months of planning with a committee last year, we are implementing a walk to intervention model. So each grade level has an intervention block built into the schedule for 40 minutes. And during that block, kids are possibly switching a classroom within their team of 3 or 4, depending on what their needs are. They might be going to a room to get extra support in reading. They might be going to a room to get extra support in math. They might be going to a room where they're focusing on STEM and enrichment. It's all based on student data, and it's all fluid. So every 6 to 8 weeks, we're reviewing that data, the progress monitoring from those classes and determining if switches need to be made. We still have students that are receiving either push in or pull out tiered intervention as well. But by adding this walk to intervention model, it does a few things. It keeps those kids from missing core instruction. It gives them an extra dose. It gives us flexibility without having to pigeonhole kids and say, now you're officially a tier 2 or a tier 3 kid. It helps us keep the system a little more fluid. It doesn't mean that it's loosey-goosey. It just gives us flexibility, but it's all very data-based. The staff has been wonderful, very open to new ideas. We've been meeting extra times. I worked out a little deal with them. It's been working great. But they are really invested in this because they want what's best for the students and they don't want the kids missing any of their core instruction. So all but one group of 3 have started as of this week. And we will be continuing to progress monitor not just the kids, but ourselves throughout the year to make any tweaks to the program that we need to make sure that it's doing exactly what we want it to do, which is make sure we're bridging those gaps, helping the students achieve in the most time efficient and personnel efficient way that we can. So more to come on that because it will be a work in progress, but I'm very happy with staff buy-in and effort and just kind of really taking it and running with it because they want to do what's right for the kids. So I think that this is going to be a good thing for us going forward.
Is that 40 minutes a day or a week?
It's 40 minutes a day.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. You know, and initially it might be a little scary to think that that's 40 minutes that they're not getting of something else, but the reality is so many kids are pulled in and out throughout the day that everybody's kind of missing something. So by implementing this model, we're trying to make it so that all of the core instruction that everybody should be getting is happening outside of that intervention block. And then whenever possible, that's when kids are getting the extra that they need. So they're not missing anything else. There are times that kids have a number of services and they still have to get something outside that block, but our goal is to make it as time efficient as possible so that kids aren't missing their regular ELA or their regular math or any of that. And because it's fluid, if you need a little bit of extra in both, you can do 6 weeks in reading, then you can do 6 weeks of extra math. The teachers are really being creative about how they're grouping the kids right now, and we'll keep refining that as we go on.
That's great, especially since we don't always recognize the talented and gifted kids. So now this is an opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Any questions for either of us on any of our goals?
Well, maybe not so much directly goal, but thanks for all the update and good stuff going on. So I know when you arrived, Amy, like it was kind of a change and the alignment started happening more between the 2 schools. So you know, I'm not an educator, but what are some of the things that you guys have to do to, like, we've always heard that we need more vertical integration between schools and there's the alignment now. So what does that look like when they say vertical integration? What does that really mean in practicality?
So I think that what we're going to start to see happen are some of the things, some of what I just discussed. It will start to trickle down to Quaker in a way that works for their particular schedule and their particular age groups. Having a K-5 literacy coach, as much as I don't like having to share her with the building down.
I don't like that sharing.
What is really powerful about that is she sees the full spectrum. And so she's able to say to 2nd grade teachers, hey, I was just met with the 3rd grade teachers and here's what they say the kids are coming in struggling with. So how are we going to make some tweaks to the curriculum and our instruction so that those kids are more ready for 3rd grade? And that continues right on down the line and hopefully up into the middle school as well. And I think just the fact that Rachel and I also have Eric to do curriculum work with, it took us a year to kind of all get our feet under us, but we're able to have those conversations about what's working in HMH or what's working in IM. How are we bridging those gaps?
And we're not working in isolation. So I think having the district curriculum coordinator, things that are across the district, it just makes it, I don't want to say easy because that's not the word, because none of this is easy. Education is just not easy. But it makes it easier to have conversations that we all can sit down with Eric and it's like a K-5 look where, you know, I'm looking at my school as K-2. That's what I want to make sure a K-2 is successful. Amy's looking at her school. We really need to look at as a border. Where you guys are all looking at as K-12, that's what needs to be, you know, we need to view it that way too. So I think we're really, the past 2 years, it's been a lot of conversations, especially with the 3rd grade, like what do you see? What do we need to work on? And it's not a fault to anybody, but we want that feedback, just like 1st grade gives the feedback to kindergarten and 2nd grade gives their feedback to 1st grade, and then kindergarten gives their feedback to the parents. But it's things like that, that's how it trickles down. So I just think having that K-5, it is huge. And obviously then we expand it to K-12. That's the ultimate goal.
Right.
And especially with the attributes of a graduate, I mean, that breaks it down very, systematically. These are the things that kindergartners should be learning in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. But it's just been a really great, it's been great working with Amy for the past 2 years.
That seems like a good partnership.
Same for you.
Literacy coach, I know that was something that we bought long and hard. How is it working out and, do we need one, an extra, how are we doing?
You're asking the wrong person.
I'm trying to figure out.
That's what I used to do many, many years ago. It's definitely been working out beautifully. Just last week, just for example, she actually went into first grade classrooms and was modeling structured literacy lessons. And maybe not so much for teachers that they're just maybe, am I doing it right? In your classroom, yes, I give feedback, but it's always nice to have that expert to say, you're spot on right there. Or maybe we can try it this way, or watch me, and then they take that back and they just meet as a grade level and run with it. So 2 days last week, we found some sub coverage in the morning, and we allowed the first grade team to all meet together, watch her do a lesson, and then they had a debrief. And that was something that came out of the HMH coaching that we obviously had to pay for last year. Teachers said, we loved watching the HMH course because HMH is brand new. We weren't sure if we were doing it right, or you read a manual and you just hope you're doing it right. And they loved that. And I think that's where they got their biggest learnings came from, was watching that coach. So now they're watching Stacy and, yeah, I am doing it right. No, I never thought to do it that way. That makes total sense. It can be hard to break in as a coach in a district because it's hard in your classroom to say, yeah, sure, come in and show me what I'm doing wrong. But that's not really the purpose of coaching. But I can say, sure, it'd be great to have another one, but Stacy's doing a very powerful job. Even though she's split between the two schools, we're only halfway through October. And for my third grade team, who she started with, because they're trying to get these, incoming babies ready to go, and I have some new teachers in that grade level, she has already, has them up and running on a new 15-minute daily reading program that they're doing to supplement. She has done, by grouping the teachers with coverage, she's modeled small group phonics lessons using a new highly effective research program for all of them. They're up and running with that. And she is working with some of the teachers around their professional learning goal to start working on our writing curriculum. And that's just one grade level. She's doing similar things with other grade levels in the other school. So yes, it would be great to clone her, but there is a power also, I think, to having somebody K-5 who is helping to bridge the schools together. Yeah, and teachers have been very receptive. Very receptive.
Yeah, so we talked about the vertical integration and how the literacy coach, can help with that. I'm interested to know what you guys think, and maybe this isn't a question for you, maybe it's a question for Eric down the road, but I'd be interested to see what you guys thought about how that progression happens once they leave goes and they get into the middle school, and can we keep that progression and help those kids keep learning and keep improving as they go through middle school and high school?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge conversation, but a big part of it is going to be the curriculum work. As we align K-5 and then we align, 5 going into 6 and 7 and upward. And the more that we learn about our assessment data as well, that's going to help guide what that curriculum looks like. As far as coaching, I think that I wish we had more of it in the district. I've seen effective coaching at the middle and the high school level, but it's hard in a small district, totally get that. But I think the more collaboration that we can do amongst the interventionists and the coaches that we do have as we're building that curriculum is what's going to be that powerful piece.
Yeah, I just don't want to see it end at middle
Makes
school.
sense.
No, it's not. And the teachers, you gotta remember, especially literacy last year, the district brought on a brand new program, K-12, like every single teacher in the district. So they have been working extremely hard, and there's a lot of hard work left with curriculum writing, alignment with assessments. And the work comes with them meeting, having discussions around the data. What does it mean? So the work is being done, and it's like the teachers had a huge lift over this past year with, learning all these new programs, and now in year 2, a little more comfortable with it. It's easier to have the conversations now. So,
and there are
It's
celebrations. I don't want to go deep into the data because I'll bore all of you, but with the DIBELS, the foundational skill data that was new to teachers, learning what that is and what to do with that data was very powerful. And I can say, for my teachers who really put some effort into that last year, the results of beginning of the year this year, you can see the kids, the growth from beginning of the year, the prior year, like there was learning that definitely happened that was retained over the summer. And as that continues and our teachers get more comfortable with the data and with those instructional strategies, we should just keep seeing that build.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Everyone, so it's time for the middle, right, the middle child, that's what I like to call middle school. So, middle school, yeah, I know, you are my favorite cheerleader. So, at the top of our school improvement plan, I put a quote that I found when I was reading a leadership article about middle school leadership. And it talked a lot about that, you know, a middle school isn't just the place that prepares students for high school, right? We aim to develop leaders who are ready to make a difference in their school and their community. So yes, a big lift for us is the next step, but it's also the step that they're in and meeting the students where they are in the step that they're in. And, you know, I've talked a lot about where middle schoolers are and all the research and everything that I've done, you know, Finding the Magic in Middle School has been a transformative book for me and really talking about, where middle school brains are. So, you know, we really aim to hit that, the crux of that quote through our school improvement plan goals. And, you know, I'm just gonna give you kind of a high level, and then if you have any questions, I'm not gonna take you step by step, just my styles. So, of course, we remain committed to increasing academic outcomes, right? Not only on district assessments, but also state assessments. We have made really good gains at the middle school, and I'm so very proud of the work that we have done. We still have a lot of work to do, and I know it, and we are continuing to work on that. But we also we're looking at academic gains not only through that academic data and state assessment data, but through new electives. We have a new PIP class, a personal interest project class for 8th grade. The kids are loving it. It's a pilot, there's 20 kids in it. It's a mini capstone class, and I can't wait for you to see what they're going to end up with in May. We have more PE, we have more music, thanks to you listening to us and helping us get a halftime, another halftime PE down at the middle school, another halftime music. It's been great to see kids be able to expand their pathway of electives. We have teachers, identifying high-level goals for their evaluations. They're excited about going to professional development again, enriching themselves so they can enrich the students in their classrooms. We are going to continue the work with the attributes of the graduate, looking at being critical thinkers, effective communicators, productive citizens. That work is going to continue. And then our big school goal this year is all around grading. We really made a major shift to our grading philosophy this year and what we were expecting from students. We looked at the research, we looked at what, you know, students should be, their grade should be from multiple lenses, not just from one lens of summative assessments. It should be summative assessments, formative assessments, classwork, projects, homework. All of that should compile into the grade. It shouldn't be a single sort of myopic view. It should be a look at the whole child, right? So all of that is academics. Then all of our other goals that support the district goals are about partnerships. Okay, so one of the partnerships, we're partnering with AJ when it comes to athletics. I'm really excited about what the new 6-12 vision will be. We made an investment in cross country last year. We have, you know, so many kids that weren't able to tap into that sport now have their sport in their second year. What else can we do, right? There's always these ideas of, could we have club sports? Could we have a running club in the winter? Could we do this? Could we do that, right? So I'm really excited to partner on that. We're partnering with the new coordinator of student conduct, right? Dave Vecca is at our school. And we share him again, you know, like you don't want to share the literacy coach. It's hard to share Dave, right? And so we share Dave, Ellen and I at the middle school. And we partner with him when it comes to student attendance and behavior. And then we partner with the students in their voice and their participation. We just met, it was so funny, we have boograms for sale next week. The student council is selling them, the PTO is sponsoring it. But we had a bunch of kids come to our door, can we deliver the boograms? And you know, it's like, we have to, all right, we need the party lines here, like this is student council, this is not, you know, this, so are you part of student council? But we also have our student leadership of the 8th grade class officers running, the speeches are written, the posters are up, they're going to be, you know, exercising their civic rights next week and trying to get people to vote for them. And we do this also, we meet with these students groups, but one thing that I'm so proud of our middle school is our commitment to community service. And we do that through our WIN on Fridays. And I just want to tell you about a couple things that are going on. One, during the month of September, we raised money. It was the 7th grade team and the 8th grade team took this on for Avery's Little Army. Avery was a girl in Milford that died from brain cancer, and the kids were moved by her story. And so, this is like a side note, Miss Knapp, when I do this as squirrel, that I go off on little tangents, but so this is just a little side story to tell you about Avery's Little Army. So last summer, we sent the teachers off with ducks, and we told them to duck out for the summer, and we asked them to take pictures of their ducks when they were on their vacation, send them to us. And then at the beginning of this year, we compiled all those pictures and we made a slideshow to see where everybody went on their vacations. But we liked that duck idea so much that we were incorporating it into this school year. And we talk about in the pond of excellence, Spartans making positive waves. And so the 8th grade team and 7th grade team, when they came up with their fundraiser for Avery's Little Army, they sold little ducks at lunch, okay? And so the kids could buy a duck or a bracelet. Now the ducks had squeakers in them. Bad move for middle school, bad move. But the kids loved it. They bought so many ducks. We raised $900 for Avery's Little Army. Avery's dad is coming tomorrow to pick up the check. And the kids are gonna present the check to Avery's dad. He was so moved, he cried on the phone with me. So these are our middle schoolers doing this work. I didn't tell them to do that, they did that. And our 6th grade team right now is doing treats for troops. They are getting candy together, and the day after Halloween, they will send all of that candy to our troops. And they made the posters. Oh, some funny misspellings on those posters, but we fixed them. But they made the posters, they are making the morning announcements, they are rallying the kids to bring in the treats for the troops. So really the voice and participation, we're trying to empower them to do good things, and they are. So, we're also partnering with staff, new staff and existing staff. We're mentoring the new staff, same thing as K-5. We have the team process, we're mentoring them, and we also continue to invest in current staff. If you want to, if you have to do something for a staff, we just did a caramel apple bar at the last PD. They loved it. You know, we just do little things like that all the time for them. And they know that we're authentic in our efforts to keep them happy, because it is a tough job and staff wellness is important. We do something silly called a monthly DJ. Ms. Knapp gets on the announcements, plays a snippet of a song, caller number so-and-so to extension, you know, the front office's extension, if they're the right caller with the right name and title of the song, they win a prize, and they love it. They fight for that. We're like, caller number 2, sorry, caller number, and they come down and it's, you know, it's a Starbucks gift card or Dunkin' gift card, but little things that we can do. We also partner with the community organizations and the civic engagement, again, like I said, with community service, and, you know, we're ready for cleanup efforts whenever the district is. And then, last, you know, we partner with parents and the community through communication. I have my weekly newsletter. That's very important. I try to make that one-stop shop. But I have entered the Instagram universe. And so if you would like to follow us, we are at Oxford Middle School Spartans. And I have, I think 50 followers right now. And it's modest, but we're getting there. I just put it in the Friday newsletter. But again, it's a great place to showcase pictures and like, I plan to showcase tomorrow when Avery's dad comes and picks up the check and the students. So that is the overview. Does anyone have questions for me?
Just a quick question, back to like goal one, I
Yes.
can't remember, the IXL,
Yes.
is that the one where, when you do the testing, it's giving the kids the test beginning of the year? Trying to find out what they know about the whole year ahead of them, or is it point in time lesson? I can't remember, it's SBAC and I can't get it
So
straight.
IXL is new for us this year. So the diagnostic is trying to place them on a spectrum, right? Their score is based on what grade level they think they're at. So their score, if it starts with a 6, they're in the 6th grade level 7. So it is the grade level standards and they're trying to place them within that continuum.
So the goal is like, so like 8th grade is like 12% at or
Yes.
above, right? So, but they're being measured at all 8th grade curriculum?
Yeah. And
For math.
so
So the
they're.
goal is to get to, perfect world, 100% by the end of the year.
Yeah, and we have, Eric and I talked at length about that 8th grade starting point and what happened there and why is that there? And we have a couple of, we
There's-
think, reasons.
There's some there, yeah, and you see, it even saw it in iReady, like at each school, like the 1st grade level, kindergarten at Quaker, 3rd grade at Go, 6th grade at middle school, 9th grade at the high school, they kind of start off the highest and then we kind of start the year always dropping down from there. I think a lot of it has to do with the amount of skills they have to learn. Usually the fall is always the lowest scores, obviously, because they're saying, hey, it's rare for a student who's gonna be, if they're in 6th grade, to be midway through or above 6th grade, coming into fall 6th grade. You're 2 months away from having to have done any math. We're asking you to come in and go, where are you at? The other thing with the program that we're still learning is like when it breaks it down by the strands. So there's like the overall score, and then each strand actually gives you a score. What we found with a lot of students as well, I don't want to say a lot. So working with some of the math tutors we have in the building, we had a group of students that I happened to be with who showed like year 2 grade levels below. I think I used this in the letter, in fractions, right? Adding, subtracting fractions, which you should have learned a couple of years ago. We found that it really wasn't you didn't know how to do it. It was within the math program, we gave them like a quick refresher and they were like, oh, okay, I forgot that step. And now I'm good. So this program for teachers is used as a way to it's a starting point in the fall of like, okay, we have a direction to look. Not every skill it says to work on is going to be a priority for the teachers right away. And that's why kids have 20 minutes a week for math, 20 minutes a week for ELA in the middle school for each to work on those skills that the teachers may not hit right away or that
Measurement is
year.
another example.
Yes, so that way they'll
seem to
get that,
trip the 8th graders up.
yes, so that way they get that practice and those skills they may need. While teachers are able to look at the skills that they're like, all right, these are the ones we gotta get to now and start to work on those.
And, what we talked about as well is the 7th grade SBAC scores don't reflect this 8th grade start in math either. They made really good gains in SBAC in 7th grade. So we expect this slow start in 8th grade to incrementally go up. We really do.
So I know we measure growth, right? I think you measure a KPI. Is there, because back to the integration between grades, and you have all this by student, obviously, you put plans together by students, see where they are, all those things. Is there a look back where it says, all right, I've got these students coming in from 7th grade, and I know my ones that were weaker didn't complete at or above. I know they're already got to be targeted 8th, because there's no way they're going to hit 8th grade.
Yes.
Like, is that
Yes.
Is that's all the time?
Yes,
Teacher.
and that's through our, that's through our SRBI program with the math interventionist, and on the other side with literacy, that's through our reading interventionist. They start the year off with the data from the previous year, so from the fifth to the sixth, the data comes in there, and they have those meetings right away, and they pull those kids into SRBI, and we start targeting those skills. Some don't need very much time, and it's like, wait, what happened? And they're right back onto grade level. But some, based on the previous year, are there again, and we keep working with them.
So it's proactive when they're coming into grade versus, oh crap, they didn't do well, let me go back.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And we've been lucky with this grant-funded tutoring through the State Department that we applied for, and we've had 2 extra math tutors in our building, both last year and this year, to work with students on top of our math interventionists. So our math interventionists is identifying, the SRBI, but students who are cuspy, that are right there almost at grade level, then the math tutors are taking those students and working with them. So. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me off the hook. I'm gonna run away now.
Yeah, but high school, yeah, so right, back to podium. Welcome.
Everybody.
Alright.
So similar to Sylvia's approach, I'm gonna kind of start big picture, and then if you kind of want to parse things out along the way, we can reserve questions to the end. I'm gonna let you sneak away. Okay.
We were trying to get out before you got there.
Thank you. So much of the work that we do subsumes the district goals that were shared by Dr. Miller and Dr. Polanowski earlier at a previous board meeting. And so while we're looking at all of those things like staff supports, improving instruction, how we're partnering younger teachers with our more mentors and our team, we're also looking at the way in which we continue to build partnerships within and outside of our community. I think Eric and Vic, you took a trip recently with a couple of our teachers to explore a local manufacturing plant. We are looking to revise and really refine our current capstone / internship project. We hear great things coming out of it from our current students, but we think too that we could capitalize and leverage that work into an even greater, more meaningful endeavor, particularly for our students who might not be college bound. Right now, we know that PSAT, SAT is the state mandated benchmark test that all of our juniors are taking. And along the way, obviously, the PSAT is what our freshmen and sophomores are taking. But in talking with Eric as well as our school counseling department, I think it's incumbent upon us as we think about what readiness looks like for both those bound for college and those who are not, how we are preparing them no matter the experience that they're pursuing. So for instance, should we give an interest survey on the level of value that the PSAT, SAT still holds? It's not to say that we don't find it valuable, but is it valuable for all kids the way that we're defining it to be of value? So I think a good starting point for us is working with our school counseling team and reaching out, whether it's to Naviance or our own building-based survey, to see what we could do to really refine the offerings that we're giving our students to best prepare them for the world they want to be part of. Some of them will be very college bound, some of them will not. And I think we want to extend the opportunities to all students. So I think that's certainly one of our goals. We have a committee in place and sort of carrying the torch now and looking at what that partnership might look like, and utilizing some of our current staff, whether it be our school counselors, our library media specialists, our own building-based administrative team, and then local businesses to see who we can really work alongside to prepare our kids for the world at large. We think I echo the sentiments of Sylvia when she talks a lot about our beginning partnership with our new 612 athletic program. We're very grateful to have Mr. Houston on board and the work that he has begun to really improve the athletics already underway. I know he and I, as on our way in, we're already thinking about something else that we kind of want to toss around as far as the senior night and a teacher recognition, but I'm not going to spoil that before we really hash out that plan. But he added a great deal of information to the athletic piece. And again, I really echo the sentiments. I have both my key team members in this room. This is truly a collaborative endeavor, not just because I'm new and I'm still figuring things out, but because we are really building this from the ground up. And I really couldn't do this without either of them and really all the sending schools for the support that we get from each of you. So we are looking to really build upon what we have, improve upon what we have, and move into kind of this new way to approach teaching and learning and success. Along the way, we're also thinking about how we capitalize on high leverage instruction. I think the way in which we're going to approach this right now is proving to be effective through the use of our new teacher evaluation system. Stephanie and I have had the opportunity to sit down with the majority of our teaching staff and really hear them talk about the goals that are going to improve not only their own practice, but teaching and learning outcomes for students. And how most of them come in with very big ideas, but how we make those ideas manageable so that they really can bear the results. I think what's important to note is that we aren't just looking at outcome data, but processual data along the way. And it's incumbent upon us as we see things happening to be able to go back and make iterative changes so that we're always sort of learning along the way and why that learning is important in what the outcome will ultimately be for both staff and students. So when we think about high quality instruction, we really are using this new TEVAL plan to say to staff, what is it you need to know more about to really have the best impact on the kids in front of you? How can we help you make that happen? We've sent a lot of staff already out into the community on professional development. School counselors attended a dual enrollment seminar recently. We have some teachers doing some IXL training. And so we're continuing to kind of feed the need of the things that they recognize are important in both their classroom or in their office spaces, depending on what it is that they're doing. We are working very collaboratively with Mr. Vecca, our coordinator of student conduct. We know we have a pretty substantial chronic absenteeism rate, so we're looking to continue to reduce that. So in coordination, we have two school-based teams. We have a student attendance team, which is facilitated by my assistant principal, and then we have our MTSS team, which is facilitated by me, where we're looking and trying to be proactive in finding the kids who are becoming school avoidant. How are we rectifying early on those patterns of behavior so that kids can be in the classroom? Because if instruction matters, instruction happens in the classroom. This is where they need to be so that they can be successful. Right now, we have put together what we're calling our watch list. It's our early list of students for whom attendance is already proving to be a little bit problematic. How are we reaching out to them? What are we doing from a restorative practice approach to get them to understand why being in school is where they need to be? And outside of school, what might be preventing that from happening? You think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we kind of have to meet them where they are and build from there. Skipping ahead, we do have, I will say, I credit my AP here for allowing me to check one item off the agenda, which was selecting two BOE reps who are joining us tonight. So thank you again to Lindsay and Brandon. I think that their voice is going to be critical in the work that we continue to do. To also build upon that, we are going to start something at Oxford High School called School Council. It will be comprised of building administrators, teachers, students, and support staff. We will meet once a month, not only to talk about the current activities underway, but also how we continue to build upon our school community. So it'll be the opportunity of forum for them to provide feedback and input, and really be kind of a roots operation to think about the work that we can just build upon that we already have underway. The deadline for students and teachers to let me know that they're interested is this Friday, so we hope to have our first meeting in early October. Speaking of partnerships, we continue to work very well with our Booster Club and our QB Club. I saw Mrs. Tilly today. She's eager for the Festival of Treats to start, so we're kind of starting planning. I attend the monthly meetings with them. And I know they just finished up or about to finish their Oxford Strong fundraiser, which was a huge success for the town. And we were very honored to be able to recognize at our first opening football game in partnership with our local first responders to be able to make a donation on their behalf. We talked a little bit about the partnerships with employment and career. That'll be something we look to have a database for by the end of this school year so that we can continue to pilot that work moving ahead. I think that will be a great opportunity, again, to build into our internship capstone experience, to be able to provide more meaningful community experiences to our kids that not only aren't just community service-based, but also work-based. So what might these experiences be able to lend you going out into the workforce to give you a glimpse into what it is you think you want to do, or perhaps what you thought you wanted to do, and how to best plan, whether it's CTE or business pathways. And then school-specific goals. We are looking at mainly right now, I did not include IXL data, and if you have questions about that, Eric and I are happy to answer it. But we're looking specifically right now at our PSAT/SAT data. Again, I recognize that I just said we're thinking about whether or not the PSAT/SAT is the most valuable assessment. I think as we continue to look at curriculum, we also need to look at the benchmark assessments that are giving our kids that readiness approach, whether it be for college or the world of work. But right now, the PSAT/SAT is the state mandated test. Students take it multiple times while they're students at the high school, and we really need to improve upon our benchmark data points. So I touch upon those and the achievable metrics, and I specify the class of 26 because it's more helpful to a school-based team to kind of look longitudinally at the cohort data and how kids have progressed from the beginning. So we could start with this class all the way back to their 8th grade SBAC testing and then track their PSAT tests through freshman, sophomore, junior year, which will happen tomorrow. And then also their spring SAT data, which will give us a really good metric of where we stand and where we need to go. This again will help us revisit curricularly where we are and where we might need to make some adjustments, whether it be to math or to ELA. So a lot. I feel honored and privileged to be here so far. It's been a pleasure getting to know the staff and most importantly, the students for whom really all the work we do is. And I'll take any questions. Yes.
So I want to welcome you to the Board of Ed. I don't think you had an opportunity to present to us yet.
Yep.
So one question I have is on the absenteeism. Have you seen an improvement? I know athletics has done their part in trying to, you know, provide a carrot stick approach to, have you seen an impact on that compared to last year's numbers?
Yes, we have. I don't know yet what last year's number at this point was, but I say collectively in talking with both my school counseling staff, the support staff, the administrative team, Mr. Becca, who was in more of a teaching capacity then, there is a decline. And I think what we're doing is targeting those students in a way that's going to be most meaningful and getting them to recommit to being in school. And the athletic piece is certainly a great carrot, but I think beyond just athletics, it's just, this is your school community. And if there's a reason that you're not here, what is that reason and how can we help you so that you can feel like this is a space you want to be in? I think we've started to make great strides. I know that, you know, the student body is working hard to build, you know, culture and climate. I know the adults are also doing the same. Our advisory piece certainly helps. It lends that adult sort of student relationship to consistency over 4 years and being able to build that rapport. And so I would say at this point, yes, we are seeing a market increase. The hope is that that trajectory continues.
So
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You didn't mention it in your report, but I've heard about the new pilot program for Saturday detention.
Yes.
What facilitated the need for a Saturday detention?
We're going to determine what the need is. So it hasn't started yet. Our first Saturday detention would be on November 9th, but we are looking to curb students missing class. Right now, one of the caveats towards discipline is like in-school suspension, which is great because the kids are there and they do have a point of contact during the school day, but they're still missing class for the duration of the school day. So for more minor offenses, whether it be chronic tardies, chronic absenteeism, vaping of nicotine, we could sort of progressively get to a level. But is the Saturday detention a component that helps us avoid students missing class? And instead they report to Saturday detention, which is facilitated by either a certified teacher or a school counselor, which also serves as kind of a wraparound service because now you're with that person. There can be a check-in process. Let's look at Google Classroom. Talk to me about your assignments. Can I help you? And so it's, I know removing them from their weekend, which isn't the most ideal solution, but it is a means of issuing consequences while also not interrupting the flow of the school day. It
And we
is a
don't have an
pilot.
after-school detention, we've never.
We still have after-school detention. I think, again, we're thinking of progressive measures. So we do have kids who stay after school now for 30 minutes at a time, depending on their offense. But if that doesn't seem to be having the impact that it should, sort of what's the next level? And do we jump right to in-school? I think there's kind of a medium there with that Saturday detention, which can be done in 2 doses. You can have a 2-hour or a 4-hour. And the idea is to kind of see, A, if it's a need, and if it is, is it rectifying any of those behaviors and helping prevent students from missing more class than they should?
I think supportive to the teachers as well, because they end up reteaching, whether it's missing class for attendance reasons or because you're in trouble. We're supporting our staff as well, all that reteaching and extra work.
Go ahead, Dick.
Just thinking about Saturday detention, and how do you qualify for that? And
You could be our first.
You want to be-
He's already done.
I did the breakfast club, so I kind of.
Beat me to it.
But the thing is that after school detention, we got 3 demerits for simple things. And then 3 demerits went down, so the principal, he talked to you, then you try to modify your behavior and you went on to detention. And hopefully detention will be more than, we just had a copy of the dictionary, so it improved my penmanship somewhat. And but Saturday is, I think you're gonna know what core person's in there. So it should be constant. Because if they're that level, you got a strong image of who's going there and why they're going there. And the same thing with absenteeism. For the 7 years I've been on the board here, absentee has been a problem. And if you look it up nationally, locally, it's the same 12 things. They just move around. I'm always disappointed that in 7 years, with the same 12 things, that we're gonna study again. How much more studying do you have to do? It's broken home, it's about, those 12 things. I just hope that as we move along faster than another 7 years to analyze it. I think we know what the problems are.
I don't disagree. I mean, I sit on our multi-tiered systems of support, and I think one of the more recognizable differences between that and a very strict SRBI model is the idea that it's far more proactive than reactive. I mean, we're looking at everything when we sit down at the table, we think about a kid who is missing school and whether or not it's impacting them academically. Is there testing that was missed? Are there certain days of the week, like because perhaps it's a peer issue or a staff issue? What time are they getting here? Who's bringing them to school? Like there tends to be a lot of contributing factors. We as a school-based team can do our best to rectify them, whether it's through home visits or we now have, the contracted social worker who can check in, who's providing an extra layer of support that may not have been in existence in the past. And strengthening that relationship between school and home is ideally what we need to do in order to get kids to believe that this is a space I need to be. I believe that the people here care about me and that the work happening here matters. And I think when they come to recognize that those 2 things are true, they'll make a more concerted effort to attend.
The other thing is on play date or play time, that's pretty much an old theory. And it kind of goes back to when I was growing up, which was Abraham Lincoln and stuff. So, we could go out, get a bear or something. But you had play dates, you had the community, you could go out, you played tag, you learned leadership, you learned being a follower. And part of the play date thing, part of the program that was done in Milford was the play date was to have them play in leadership roles while they're learning something. And we started it, we had an excellent program, I don't know if we're still doing it. The staff had painted the stones out there in different numbers, so they would they're out there playing, but they're adding numbers. So I'm hopeful that that's the kind of play thing, that it's just not an hour of randomness, and it's got to be structured. And play goes all the way up to high school. It's called doing a team. Capstone is almost playing. So I'm hoping and I feel encouraged that we're going that way. And the detention thing, but I always think was cool. I was pretty upset about it because I was thinking, I know when you're a junior or senior, you can't afford to go to detention because the guy who's going to talk to you is your boss. It's going to cost you. So your father could say anything. The man that is paying you, if you're late, you're fired. So I never had detention in my junior, senior year because I needed the money for gas. So I'm hoping this program That's that. But the other thing is discipline starts right down in kindergarten. And we've been on this crusade of, magnet school type, every, pick your chair, do your this thing. And we created this lack of discipline going up. And now you're the catch-all for it. So I'm hoping that your plan works. So I'm behind you. Thank you.
Heather, if I may, just real quick to Vic and the rest of the board. School counselor first, disciplinarian for most of my career, but it's always been very important to me to think of the kid first. And so our approach, although you don't get to be part of every little ounce of it, is always counseling first. Why? And so there's a reflection packet, whether you're detention, suspension, Dave's, Mr. Becca's jumped right on board. And what are those support systems we can give? So it's not just the stick, it's the rest of it as well. And I'm very happy and hopeful. I mean, we've had to have a Herculean jump past COVID to get high school kids back in. They were so used to being at home. I can do this from home. I don't need my teacher. Now rubber's meeting the road. They need us again. So I'm very hopeful for that whole piece to be back together. So yes, it is an inconvenience to upset your boss. I hope they think we're their boss once in a while. But also, yeah, to get back in for what they need and to make them happier. And you guys, when I first got on board about the capstone internship, I jumped right on board with a student-led proposal for how we could grow capstone internship, which was student-led, which means it's what they want. And now we've taken some big steps to make that happen. Now we have a media library specialist and some programs just ready to help us fight. So we'll be back at you when we need more support to make that happen for next year.
So have you thought at all about the parent that refuses to bring their kid in on Saturday? Or have you thought at all about the kid in the broken home that if he tells what happened and gives the slip up, he's not coming and he's probably got other issues, or she has got other issues?
I think the piece of Saturday detention, and it's true for all of our discipline, whether we issue kids a detention and in school, whatever the thing is, it starts by having a conversation with parents. And so far, knock on whatever laminate surface this may be, we've been very fortunate in like forging very good relationships with our parents. And even when they might not always agree, we can meet in the middle about what it is that you kind of see as the issue and build from there. And so to your point about Saturday detention, I recognize it's gonna be an inconvenience, particularly if a kid can't drive himself and they need to get a ride. It is gonna impact people. And so I think we're gonna cross that bridge as we come to it and see what happens. The nature of Saturday detention, it is an inconvenience, and it is an inconvenience for a reason. And hope that's a little bit of a deterrent in itself. But for those kids who have difficulties or come from a broken home or who know it's gonna create more of an issue than we intend it to be, we are certainly willing to have that conversation as it arises. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing before the administrators leave? I just would like to thank you guys for the hard work that you put forward during the flood. We could not have done a lot of what we did without you all being there. Getting kids off the buses, standing out there, directing traffic. Thank you all for all of your hard work during that time. I know it took time away from your families and your other efforts at school, but thank you all for doing what you did. It was appreciated. Thank you.
Does anybody have a good impression of Dr. Miller directing traffic?
I know.
You did, you were fantastic. I was at the high school every morning, it was awesome,
There's even.
right out there with everybody.
In front of Quaker Farms,
I
and when all the buses leave at the same time.
thought it was gonna hurt.
So I jumped in front of the road and I stopped the traffic and I started waving the buses through and I'm cheering them on. It was a lot of fun.
We didn't get to see that. I just held my breath.
Yeah.
Just held my breath.
Yes, thank you for everything with the flood. All right,
Thank you very much.
thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the update.
Good night.
Okay, let's go through action items.
So it came to our attention that there is a high school guidance counselor that spends an extensive amount of time every year preparing for the scholarship drive each year for our high school seniors. There's a huge event at the end of the school year, which culminates with, and I thank you, with students, receiving anywhere from $50 to $60 to up to $95 in scholarships. The guidance counselor spends the entire year consolidating all the scholarships, getting people to commit, getting the funds in, getting the night organized. It's come to our attention that person has never received a stipend for that work. It was not part of the collective bargaining agreement from last year. The OEA has approached me about having a stipend for that person. We discussed it at the finance committee. The proposal will be for $2,040 for a stipend. I'm asking the board this evening to authorize the board chair to enter into an MOU with the OEA for this person to get a stipend for the year.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the MOU request for the OHS scholarship advisor?
Dollar amount again?
That's what we're ready.
I'll make that motion. That we approve the stipend for the scholarship coordinator of 2020.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion anyway.
Who is the person who does it right now?
It is Andrew McRae.
So just one of the student council stuff?
Yes.
With no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you. She does a wonderful job every year and it's a benefit to our students. It is a recognition to all of her work and I just want to publicly thank her for all the years she's been doing it and now she's getting formally recognized. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So do we have a motion to request for approval of QFS mulch bid award?
So we went up to bid following the flood, a great deal.
I just make the
Yeah,
motion.
make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the request for QFS mulch bid award in the amount of $33,000. No discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So following the flood, the bulk of the mulch on the playgrounds at Quaker Farms all washed away and it became a safety hazard. So we went out to bid, we had one vendor that put in a bid, and that's the bid you see this evening. We'd like the Board of Education to approve this bid. Yes, it's for $33,000, but we feel that we can submit this to insurance to get this partially funded.
It's actually already been submitted to insurance to see if we can get any piece of it back. So we have a $10,000 deductible, so what we can get back is 23. If we get back, but it's also going into all the towns and stuff, so maybe we get the full 33, I don't know. My guess is the town's gonna keep the 10. We're gonna get insurance.
You're talking about FEMA reimbursement.
No, it's
our insurance.
Insurance reimbursement, got it.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
insurance. So.
Did we do that motion okay?
Yeah, the motion's fine.
I just wanted to make sure.
Can I ask?
I'd like-
Where it's coming from, what line you're gonna be, we didn't have it funded, so where is
We
it?
did not.
No, we don't have it funded in the operating budget, so the thought process is we're going to utilize, the, central activities, general activities fund, the district general activities fund, because there's $56,000 that we're gonna all get in that line, and so then when the insurance, if we get insurance money back, we'll just reimburse that line with the insurance proceeds.
I wanted to hear how they're moving the mulch with the two fences. Cause I heard that in facilities and I thought it'd be fun
So
to
they
share.
can get the vehicles across the fence. They're actually almost taking a conveyor belt and then transporting it up and over.
It's more than mulch, right? I mean, they're picking out the sand, replacing sand and.
And it really is a safety
200
hazard.
yards.
200 yards on a conveyor belt.
Yes, yes.
255 buckets.
Who's spreading it?
So any further discussion? Guys? All right, so we'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. And finally, we need to make a motion to approve the snow removal contract renewal. And I'll let Dr. Miller describe that, and then we'll go
Can I
to,
make the motion?
oh yeah,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid for snow plowing and removal in the amount of, I believe it's $92,000.
we have a second? Yeah. Dr. Miller?
Okay, so 3 years ago, we went out to bid for all the snow removal. The way the contract was written back then was a 1-year renewal each year. If we decided to implement it, so each year we come back to the board. Last year is right after we moved to the new property. So we did a soft bid to see would it make sense to go to somebody else, would it make sense to stay with Nature's Edge? At the time that we had two competing bids, this became significantly less and everyone went to another company. So it became the $90,000 for this year with some minor tweaks because we had some new parking that we didn't have before when they did the original bid. So we're asking for the $92,000 for this year. There's gonna be some minor tweaks now because we have added some additional parking. And we do need to have conversations with it out. We need to get anything back or by CEP, continue to not or not. But it's the $92,000 removal for year 3 of this contract.
Do you know if we're making an addendum to it to include the new central office parking that we've
They've
created?
got to revise the price slightly, so we're asking for you to approve the $92,000 like we did last year with a slight modification.
And with the new machine that we have for sidewalks and stuff, is that a factor?
No, because what that machine does, it clears the sidewalks itself. Nature's Edge does the parking lot.
Okay, so they don't have anything to do with the sidewalks. Got it. Thank you.
Is this like a usual fee? I mean, I have no idea what.
Yeah, so essentially, there's two ways to go about snow removal. One is a per storm, where they give you a flat rate and you pay every time it snows. The other way is the way that we've been doing it for a long time here, which is giving a large contract for unlimited number of snow removals. It's a gamble. Last year, we didn't have a lot of snow, so we paid for a lot more than we actually needed. Previous years, when we've had a lot of snow, it pays for itself. So the risk reward, this guarantees you know what the cost is gonna be. And we figured from a finance standpoint, for a number of years now, this made the most financial sense. In some years, you do lose out, like last year.
Anybody else? All right, so we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Dr. Miller?
Okay, so I'm gonna be rather brief tonight. I know the late hour tonight. Just a couple quick updates. The town did give us a revised road list the end of last week. There are 3 roads that remain unpassable by buses. We've given that list to the bus company and we're waiting for the bus company to now reroute the routes according to the revised list. We're also trying to get them to add an additional driver or 2. We're still waiting for a formal response from them. We are right now working on compiling a list. I'm going to have our attorney send them a formal letter demanding that they follow the contract. If they don't do so, that would try and help with the 5:15 pickup for the magnet schools. At the same time, we're also have a policy first read this evening to also help address the 5:15 pickup. So we're still working on that. Second, as you heard earlier this evening, Dr. Pogorzelski and myself have been going through all the schools. We went through high school on Friday, Thursday last week. Wednesday last week. And we did Great Oak, the middle school, and Great Cross today with the gratitude card. Basically, a nice card of snacks and drinks, while class by classroom, office by office, and our staff members and teachers are interested in snacks on their drink, just as a way to say thank you to them. And the smiles on their faces. There were some teachers and staff members that wanted how much to pay us. But we had to accept that it was a gesture of kindness to them, and they were very appreciative of that. And finally, just as a reminder to the board and community that in 2 weeks, November 5th, which is election day, historically, schools in Connecticut are closed on that day because the schools are used for elections. On the school calendar that originally had been a progressive learning day with no school, since we had moved the PD day before the start of the school year, that day will be a no school day for students and for staff. The offices will be open for secretaries, for administrators, 12-month staff. But for students and for teachers and paras, that will be a day off that day. So that's in 2 weeks. That is on the calendar for students and it's newer for the staff as well. And that's my report for you, student.
I noticed, and I don't know if it was a typo, the public content, it said there was an attachment for analysis of staff departures was handed out.
Yeah, it's been on there for like the last 2. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I must have missed it.
It just needs to come on.
That must be copied over there.
Okay.
Previously. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, worries.
Good deal.
Did you always start with the previous agenda and you?
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
All right, second audience of citizens.
Hello. Jessica Canal, 17 Redwood Drive. I did watch the meeting, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. Deb and I go back and Bobby and I go back, but I'm sorry, if the word elected is there, politics is there, and everybody has to deal with it.
I totally support Saturday detentions, kids need consequences, and so do parents. Hopefully that'll deter people from. But the other thing, I read about absenteeism all the time, and I really hate our policies, only because they're so like, you're not a good parent if you keep your kid home. And I noticed, when the administrators were here, that it said that they were going to talk to the student before the parents. And my daughter was accosted by someone, I'm not exactly sure who, last year, not, all right, that's
Yeah,
strong,
just be
that's a
careful.
strong word, I'm sorry, accosted.
Just be careful, Jess, okay, please.
Mhm.
Just be careful.
She was asked by somebody why she was absent from school yesterday. And her answer was, call my parents. I had permission to be out of school by them, call them and talk to them. So, that made her feel very uncomfortable. I'm just letting you know. And so I would hope that, knowing that that could make a student uncomfortable, because that is, if I have to call my child out, then somebody should be contacting me as to why my child was out. And if they are excused or unexcused or whatever. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Jess. Do we have anybody else? Anybody else? And anybody else? All right, okay, so the report of the chair, that's me. Steve, I would like to publicly apologize to you for my actions and my words. I'm a pretty good, big guy on integrity, and I had none. I make no excuse because there is no excuse. So I hope that you would accept my apology. I hope that everybody understands that I am very, for lack of a better word, I'm pretty upset with myself about my actions. So I apologize.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. School business. So at some point very soon, we're going to be, changing the facilities chair. That requires a vote by the board. Mike is gonna step down and we're gonna vote on Joe being the facilities chair. No other subcommittee chair changes will occur. I am very happy with, the way Deb has run curriculum. She deserves to stay there. And I'm also very happy with where Nicole is at policy. She's an expert. There should be no changes there whatsoever. And Steve needs to stay on finance because he did such a great job with the budget last year. If you would like to change into something different, just to change things up for yourself, I would really like it if some of you would come to me and we could talk about it. And maybe we could figure something out regarding that type of stuff. And then the last thing I have is I need to meet with George, and I'm not sure, Dr. Mill, if you want to be with me about Oasis.
Yes.
Okay, Oasis is from my understanding, they are a drug prevention organization that we have worked with in the past, that the school would like to work with in the future. And we just need to have a meeting with George and go over what we need to get and how we get that done, because I think that's a good thing for us to be doing here at school. And that's all I have for tonight. Subcommittee reports. Facilities. Joe, you're up.
Sorry, pretty lengthy meeting tonight. Just to put it out there first, the next facilities subcommittee meeting will be TBD because we're looking at a new possible date and so they have to rush through things. Like I said, they've been getting very lengthy and we don't want to rush and have to just cut things short. AJ was with us tonight. He gave us a long list of ideas that he has to try to build the program, help the district, a lot of things, give it safety and make the environment that the kids are working with a lot better. Some of them do have dollar amounts tied to it. So we'll, kind of work on those, see what makes sense and prioritize them and see if we have anything to bring back to the entire board as a whole, but AJ, gave a very long presentation and, it was really good. Brian Viger was next, he gave a security update, things are looking good without going into specific details. He is still doing audits on schools and constantly reviewing things as well as, some keys, hardwares, cameras, et cetera. There's a lot going on in the security aspect of things without going into detail itself, but if anybody has any further questions, feel free to reach out.
Jody, mind real quick? I'm sorry to interrupt. I would like feedback from all of you guys about making an ad hoc security committee that would not be a permanent committee, just something. There was a lot of information, both with AJ, with Mike DiAgostino and with Brian Viger about security. And it's not, it took an hour and we could have probably spent 2. So, any feedback from you guys about that? If you want to be on the committee, I'd like to hear that as well. Sorry, Chip.
Moving on, a couple of district stuff from Mike D'Agostino, snowplow bid, obviously we did, mulch repair we did, pool pack is going to be, work scheduled is for November 1st start date with a hopeful completion date of November 22nd.
And the maximum, we believe it's gonna be 2 weeks, we're really giving ourselves 3 weeks in case there's any challenges.
HVAC update, it goes, the job has been completed, the manufacturer inspections have taken place, so that's in good working order. The big ticket item that was on discussion was the Wolverine Field bathrooms today. We're trying to look into options to redo those, it's the best way to do it, get rid of the porta potties, make actual bathrooms for people to use. That takes a couple different pieces, the puzzle to get together and make that happen, so it's still in a working stage right now. Building maintenance, a lot of preventative maintenance for this, when the winter is going on, that's all undergoing or been taken care of. And that's about it. I'll shoot it over.
Deb?
Curriculum, we did not meet, we were gonna meet, yesterday. Eric was not quite ready for the numbers. So we'll schedule another meeting and get together and.
Could you let me know, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Can I?
Sure. Absolutely. You're on the committee, right?
Oh, yeah, you wanna talk about your visit?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I still want you to mention my name.
Why didn't kick you off?
So, okay. Very
Okay,
good.
that's exciting.
We went to a local manufacturing company and, I thought it was, very eye-opening for Eric and the other 2 teachers that went with us. And, in a nutshell, not to take away from Eric's thing next week, is that, they're very open. And it was interesting because, I drove up there with my truck and I met this secretary and it's a performance type thing. She said, "Oh, you drove up. They want to come out and talk with you." So I had a presentation after the presentation to go over, high performance trucks and stuff like that. But the interesting part was that as we talked to the different managers and people in there, they were students like what we have here. Like the one fellow said, he's in charge, like VP of operations. I had no idea what I was going to do when I was in high school. I had no idea when I got out of high school. And I started working in a machine shop. And before I knew it, I took a course, I took a class, and all of a sudden I had enough credits and I was going to get a degree. And it's something that people have to bear in mind, that many degrees happen because you just happen to be there and you're accumulating stuff. I know it for a fact. It's like, hey, I might as well just finish, get my BS. I'm only a couple grades away. But more interesting, as we went around, we saw these machines coming down and drilling, milling and shaping and 3D printing and different metals and stuff. It was a big eye opening for us, this part of the world that they could see how that works. It's not, what they think, it's not oil spraying all over the place and you're sleeping on the floor. But 2 questions came up is that, should we send down our AP students? To which they said no. Should we send down the next level? Okay, so they said, no. We want the kids that you're having problems with. Because those are the kids that are gonna make something with their hands and get satisfaction. That's what they're missing in school. They're not making anything. There's no way in today's world that you actually make things. You don't make model airplanes, you don't do things like that. He says, if we get those people, we will help you and we will help them find a career. And then the next question was, well, should they have calculus? No, they don't need calculus. They get here, if they could read micrometer. Oh, we'll get digital micrometers. No. Get the basic one that you have to learn the vernier. You will learn fractions in math from doing that. You'll learn what it does when it comes out nice and shiny with this spec. You'll learn to read blueprints. We would prefer to have those students here to teach them, to give them the benefit of our company. Then he went through the benefits. We pay for college here. So you can come here, we'll pay for your college each step. So the burden of paying for college, you gotta get a C, get percentage, B, A, and so on. And then best of all was that the president of the company, and I think her name was Christina, something like that. Anyway, she is working with a company that owns them to set up some kind of schooling, which is kind of like what I always wanted to do, that would teach kids how to make things. And that's, she said, I would love to do that as much as running this complex here. And so what came out of that was that in addition to kind of thinking this is a guy thing, it isn't a guy thing. She said, I started, doing the chips, doing the machining. I learned the business. I'm the president. That's what we need to get with our students here, is that there are no glass ceilings if they can go to work there. But you gotta start at the bottom. You gotta know how to read a vernier before you learn. So do a CNC machine. We went through square footage, how much space that, machine takes up too much space, we can't put it in the school. And the footprint's 1/4 of this table. Oh, we have to get a CNC machine, computer up. No. The more they learn to do 2 things at one time and make a part, they'll be happy. They'll be better. They'll know how it works. So basically, that's what I got out of it. They were very enthusiastic. They were very honest, and it was a good core business for everybody that they can see. So that's nice. I had a great time. Then I got to talk about my truck.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Vic. Nicole?
All right, so we've got 2 policies down for a first read tonight. The first one is the transportation policy, which Dr. Miller already touched upon. We have a situation where we have students who are going into Flat Tech and the start time has changed. It's much earlier now. They're starting at 7 a.m. Some of these kids are catching the bus at 5:15, and that's just way too early. We're changing the start time in the policy because that it can't be any earlier than 5:45. I realize that's still really, really early, but it's necessary in order to help us negotiate with the bus company to try to get maybe a new bus driver or something else so that these kids aren't on the bus for so long. So that's the main purpose of the first policy, the transportation policy. The next policy is a school climate policy, and this one's gonna have a budgetary impact. It's a mandated policy. It's required that we implement it. We need to implement it by July 1st, 2025. And there's a whole lot that needs to be done in order to make this happen. So we need to create a school climate coordinator. We have to have a school climate specialist in each school. The specialist needs to appoint members of for the school climate committee. And then there needs to be a school climate survey for students, employees, and families. And from that, the school climate improvement plan will be developed. So I'm bringing it to your attention now because that's gonna have to be funded in this next budget.
It's gonna be a big budget item.
And the state of Connecticut, in part of the legislation, said that the policy that the districts need to adopt has to be the CAVE policy, which is what's in front of you today. Normally, the shipment policy, that's who we subscribe to. But the legislation actually read that the CAVE needed to write the policy that districts adopt. So with the policy that's in front of you, the CAVE policy, we're waiting for the Goodwin forms to come out. We're gonna, from a regulation standpoint, adopt their forms, but the policy needs to be the CAVE policy, which is what you see this thing.
So how many employees are they, I'm guessing it's unfunded mandate, correct?
Of course, yeah.
So it sounds like there's 3 positions.
In school.
Yeah, not additional positions, so I'm.
Are
you
these
know, I'm the
stipend
coordinator.
positions?
Oh, yeah, I'm the coordinator of the district, and then each of the schools would have to appoint, most likely the principal to be. But there's gonna be additional then layers to the, you know, the conduct and the bullying and the new language, so. There's gonna be language for bullying, there's gonna be language for challenging behavior, and then how do we disseminate from there, who's doing what? But then each school has to have their own committee that has parents, students, and staff on it as well, so we have to oversee that part of it too.
So the cost, I mean, from that policy, the cost initially wouldn't be new hires, but with the challenging behavior, the amount of paperwork you need an 092 to complete, are we looking at more admins? Is that what this policy leads districts to?
Potentially, I have some ideas, I think as we work through the budget, ways to address it, so we can talk through that. There's other ways to do it, but I do think it's going to at first put a lot of time and paperwork into those additional, you know, the two definitions now to not only be bullying behavior, but challenging behavior. And how do we investigate all of those claims and then also provide the interventions and supports that they're going to need based on those claims.
So. I have a question. So based upon that information, investigations can take a while. I mean, the sheer volume at the beginning of this could be
Sure.
pretty big.
That's what, yeah, that's a concern that we definitely have. As it is, I mean, the building principals are doing it, they do take a long time, as you know, when you interview another child, you get more information, and then you're interviewing 6 more children. And it could take, you know, it could be very short, but it also could be very long, depending on the situation. And I get pulled in and I'm doing investigations, and then, you know, sometimes unfortunately it rolls into a sexual harassment or into, you know, anti-discrimination. And so then it goes into the next layer in which, you know, I'm pulled to go and do those too. So yeah, there's a lot of layers to this. And then the other costs could potentially, depending on what the board wants to do or our team wants to do with, the culture and climate survey. There are some free ones out there that the RESCs are putting out there, so it's something we can consider, but if there's something else we want to look at, there could be a cost. There are platforms that do those as well.
Do either one of you guys, Nicole or Dr. McGinty, do you know, like, I guess, is there a time frame for how soon investigations have to be done? Does it say timely manner? Does it say
It's
a month? Does
timely,
it say?
yeah, it's timely manner, depending on the situation. So Title IX definitely has a timeline associated with that, depending on when the claim comes in. Depending on bullying.
It's fact specific.
Right, so it depends, again, if sometimes you talk to a student and then you're talking to 10 more students, because then that 10th student gives you another one, so it really is dependent, there's no specific timeline, but we try to do it as
volume's
quickly
gonna
as
kill-
possible.
Yeah, very much so.
It's the volume that's gonna kill us.
Yeah, because up to this point, we've had to investigate if it's a Title IX violation, if it's discrimination, and if it's bullying. Now you've added another layer that's challenging behaviors that doesn't necessarily rise to that threshold, so we're increasing the volume of complaints that parents could put into the school district or students could, that we now need to investigate.
Have you guys looped in Brian? Cause he was a climate specialist where he came from, right? If I remember correctly from his.
He was, obviously it was more security related,
Right.
but that was part of his title, yeah.
So yeah, we definitely loop him in when, you know, there's that security
just pick
piece,
it,
and he's newer, so we looped him into that piece of it too. And we are utilizing the, what is it, the coordinator of conduct? I
Yes.
can't remember all the acronyms. That's definitely helping with it too. The tricky part with that is that he's only there 2 days a week, so sometimes when it's a specific type of investigation, if he's going to another building, we wanna make sure that we're consistently addressing what's happening, so. So yes, there's potential. I have a couple of ideas, actually a couple more talking to others have sprung up in the last week of ways that we can address it, so. I can put those proposals together too, as we do budget.
Does it make sense to talk to Cav about it?
So how do you handle false accusations?
Okay.
Sorry, so.
That's okay. I mean, we can, I don't think we're gonna get much leeway, as this was given by the government to the state of Connecticut, deemed them responsible for creating the policy. And so this is the policy that they created that we need to adopt. I mean, we can definitely talk to them if you have any specific questions. I'm just not sure necessarily where we would get with that.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Vic was first, he just, I interrupted Vic, I'm sorry.
No, I did. How do you treat, false accusations?
Same way, I mean, you have to investigate it until you find that you don't have enough information to substantiate it. Same with any bullying claims too, there's often sometimes 10 different claims and we will send, once we finish is, which ones were substantiated and which ones were not substantiated. So we have to investigate it as if it was a claim. It does happen.
Yeah.
Of course, I remember when we got schools where soccer teams were found guilty of, then after being expelled in their lives from there, it wasn't real. I mean, it's happened 4 or 5 times in my recent memory.
And that's what we also try to do is complete the investigation before the consequence is given out. Because again, there's some times where there could be false information and we don't want to provide a consequence without having the information. So
But
we put
that's
protective measures in place in between, but as we're investigating.
big shoes to fill, because all those processes that you're talking about were done with these other, and ruined many lives. And people are vicious on both sides. Bullying can be the person that's saying that bullying, that type of thing. So it's a big thing.
Well, we get extensive training from our attorneys and from the state on how to apply these policies and how to do investigations and consequences go along with them. So it is something we take very seriously. And the hope is that we would never discipline a student with consequences that was not appropriate, that the right steps are in place before a child was ever disciplined, that whether a child is substantiated or not.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's obvious we want a school that's safe and welcoming, everyone can come here and if we should have a transparent governed process and approach, but. I mean, I'll just say, like, I am not a fan of CAVE at all. I find them to be an unofficial extension of the government, in my opinion. So with the policy, does there come prescriptive templates, reporting? I mean, is that for us to decide as a district what's right for us, or are they gonna,
Well,
is that the next?
that's the problem. There's some forms that are problematic and that we're
We're
looking,
gonna have some fun.
we're looking to Shipman and Goodwin instead of using those forms,
Okay.
but you gotta keep in mind, that's on the regulation side of things. That is not our purview as a board. We're here for the policy. So we have to let the administration take care of what's best for, as far as the forms and the actual investigations and what.
And we don't intend to adopt the CAVE forms. Shipman and Goodwin are piloting their forms right now. They've analyzed the legislation and that legislation says that we need to adopt a policy, does not mean that we have to adopt their forms. So right now they're piloting their forms and once they're ready for us to have, they'll then release it to us. And our intent is to review the Shipman Goodwin forms, which we use all the rest of their stuff from. Tweak it if we need to, but adopt the regulation side, their forms, not the CAVE forms.
So of course, policies are always vague. They have a very vague definition of challenging behavior. Are we allowed to like hone in on that and make our own like?
I don't think so. I think we have to keep to the letter of the
Cause I mean,
law.
it could be anything from he looked at me funny in the hallway to, he, dropped a pencil and I tripped over it and was it on purpose or not?
That's where the investigation comes into play, so.
He asked me to dance 3 times, and that took all the guts the guy had.
And I think that's why we have that reservation, because I think we're gonna see at the beginning a lot of complaints come in for those various reasons and then taking them out based on what the responses, so.
And at times from some of those meetings, some would say some of their viewpoints can be extreme, in some cases. So that's why I have the concern about.
And did they give a reasoning for this new added, like, layer of?
It was, but it's too hard for it.
I think part of it is trying to curb the bullying, so I think we're gonna see, a little bit more at first and then trying to better understand and identify true bullying versus challenging behavior. I think they're trying to extrapolate the two. I think it's gonna make things a little more difficult at the beginning as we learn, the difference between. Unfortunately, I don't think we can change the definition. I don't know if you've seen, but the bullying definition has changed probably every other year. So it's something that continues to change through legislative cycles. So we'll see where it goes after this.
Because I think at our last meeting, either before, during, or after, is like the dress code, we have a dress code that's not enforced. And I would just say that, that could be a problem. You know, the dress code that I see. And I was picking up my granddaughter from, you know, Pomfret, it's like, I don't know how any of that could ever be allowed. So, you know, that's gotta be an ingredient to it, because, we're teaching all kinds of different things from kindergarten on and up. You get to be, wrong ones are active, and you say the wrong thing to the wrong girl that's dressed appropriately by today's standards, and you're creamed, you're killed for life, because you stepped out of bounds. Whatever those bounds are, we don't even know what the bounds are.
Through handbooks and
Right.
student, you know, that would be separate kind of from this, but we, you know, those are things though that we talk through when we're doing Title IX investigations, and we always have help and support as well, so things like that do come up, but we make sure that we have all of the right information.
So the number one thing, since we have a dress code that we don't enforce, we don't have to have a policy, we already have it.
This is not the dress code, this is challenging behaviors. I mean, if there's something that we need from policy perspective, we need to look at the dress code, we certainly can do that. But this is not the dress code policy.
I think Victor's point is somebody could make a comment about how someone's looking based on the dress code, and that could get them into a lot of trouble. That's gonna end up in one of these events that they consider challenging behavior. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of different angles that.
Yeah,
You don't want
it's gonna be interesting.
This is gonna be so much trial and error.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely, you know, Title IX cases that come up with that part, and you have to go through each one of those processes and things like that, so. There's definitely different layers to that, so.
So this is just a first read. Everybody take a look. We're gonna talk about it again at the next meeting, and we also have a policy committee meeting coming up. It'll be the first Thursday of November at 5:45. And we do it virtually.
Could I also make a recommendation? Two new board members should be included in this, but I'd like to have their input.
The kids?
Yeah, they're kids, they're board members.
Okay.
Yeah, just being,
As
you know,
long
they
as it's
are.
appropriate,
Huh?
as long as it's appropriate,
Voting board member,
yeah.
they're liaisons.
I don't know.
Just water it down, they're board members. And this is a school problem, just like, cell phones and stuff. We should get input from, needed the.
So
They're not full board members, they're just representatives, and they're kids too, like, I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay.
But what we could do is we can have a session with them for them maybe to understand the process of policy adoption and what the board does in order to adopt a
Yeah, make it
policy, and then
something
how
that-
we enact it and what the regulations are versus the policy. We can definitely sit down and maybe each of the committees can sit down and say what they do,
I
so
like
that they
that
have an
idea.
understanding of how the process of the board works. It's not just the one meeting, there's many different things that happen.
And they might want to actually
I
sit
quite
on a
disagree.
committee and
They're old
see
enough
how
that they
that
can do
works that way
certain things.
too. It just, it could be that they are interested in actually even sitting on a committee. I wouldn't, not obviously not security, but the other committees that are relevant to what they're doing, they might be interested in actually participating in that.
Yeah, as long as it's okay with the chair of that committee, I don't have a problem with that.
And the one area that the board policies clearly state is that student representatives cannot be part of executive sessions. Confidential material is something that they don't have access to. But so, for example, if we're talking about a career-related issue, that's something they would not have a conversation about. But dealing with curriculum, policy, facilities, all that stuff is something that they could theoretically have conversations about and understand and learn about how the board functions.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Nicole. Steve, finance.
So, the notes are up there. We met last Thursday. We covered a few things already, such as the MOU, the mulch, the plowing, so I'm not gonna go into those. Currently, from expenditures and encumbrances, we're at $32.6 million with $2.5 million availability left. At the meeting, Howard indicated that approximately our flood expenses and resource costs ended up being about $31,000 for that event. In addition, we've got a $43,000 grant that was provided by the state for paras who utilize the medical benefit plans. And that funding will be given back to them through the payroll process. And Howard, if I speak out of turn or whatever, just you feel free to trample me. One of the big items we spent a bunch of time on is our electricity budgeting for this year that we're in right now could be as much as $240,000 under budgeted due to pretty much some rate increases, but mostly driven by the public benefits we all see on our bills now. Mine's 28% of my bill, probably yours are too. So that wasn't something that was factored or known about at the time of budget. So that right now it could be as much as 250, but I think as we go on through future months, we get actuals, Howard can model. He's a nice model in Excel's laying it out. So that's probably a little conservative, maybe, Howard. We think 250.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
and perhaps it's going to come down, but we want to call out as a risk. So we'll continue to watch that. We had an update on the purchasing card. We talked about that past board meetings. There was a consortium of schools in the district that were using JP Morgan to use a credit card to get rebates back. The state has left JP Morgan in favor of US Bank. Howard, I know we were talking about seeing if they'll honor the terms and conditions of our agreement as an independent. And if they are, we'll stay.
Right, if they'll honor that, we're gonna stay. So what we did is, because we're so far into the process of going through, we actually got the cards. So we have the cards now, we haven't used them yet. We have 3 cards. There's a purchasing card that that's can be used for vendors and things like that, that we have to software. A lot of times it's software and things like that that you have to purchase. They only want the credit card. They won't take a purchase order. So we have a credit card. And then Dr. Polanski and Dr. Miller both have an expense card. And so those are the only 3 cards that the district has. They have theirs. I control the one that's in a safe in the office. It'll stay there, and I would be the only one that utilizes it. If someone calls me up and says we're gonna need to pay, I will be the one that's paying. So there's a control over that as well. We're gonna try it for the first time sometime this week. Just small purchase, just because on Friday, we're gonna go through the training to be able to see if we can, see how we get the reports out of the Chase system. Once we go forward and Chase accepts and said, we're gonna continue forward, and Chase says, yes, you can get the 1% back on your spending, we'll stay with Chase. If they say no, what I'll do is I'll start the process to move to the US Bank one, because I know that the state's gonna get that with US Bank. It just didn't make sense at the time, because we were so far into the process to just stop the process and then have to get going, because again, we probably wouldn't have it until March then, by the time we get the card, because that's the process for the state. So that's why we moved forward with JP Morgan.
Couple more notes and we'll move on, but the administration identified an EAP program for employees to provide family well-being and support benefits, whether it's calling in for counseling or getting, papers on how to deal with elderly parents, whatever it may be. It's a nice benefit to have. It's low cost, it's approximately $4,000. Also ties into one of district goals, for staff. Perhaps we're at least being more competitive with our benefits package with that. And then what else do we have here? And we'll give the nightly trophy to Howard tonight for identifying $9,000 that was being held at the state relating to unclaimed property from probably well over 10 years ago, right?
Easily, yeah. We had a bank account at Liberty Bank that had $5,000 in it, and one of the signers on the account had passed away. So that's how long ago. I mean, it's a long time ago. So we actually literally had to go into that certificate from the town and prove to the bank that the money belonged to the Board of Ed. And so we got that. So we got $9,000 that we put into we got the check. It went into central activities, into the district activities fund. So it's taxpayer money. It belongs back to the taxpayers. And so that's how, and students, so that's how we use it.
We'll utilize it. And just finally, we just touched on some highlights of the personnel report and open roles. And we talked about the scholarship advisor role. I think that's the highlight of it. We'll meet in November after we get the October financials from Howard, and we'll be monitoring closely the electricity forecast deficit.
Do we have any transfers?
No transfers this month.
No transfers.
Liaison report.
I got an update from Miss Lisa. I think I mentioned this before, the Oxford Strong, we've made $8,400 that they presented the check at the football game was it last week? Or the week before, 2 weeks ago. So $8,400 from the fire department. Our designer bag bingo is this Thursday. And it'll be held at the Riverside Fire Department. Festival of Trees will be 12/13 and 12/14. We're hoping to see the whole district participate. Quaker Farms has been the first to send in their donation, so I guess they get a prize. Forms will be going out this Friday, and hopefully the high school will get a lot of the different groups at the high school to participate again. And the Performing Arts have been working on their fall production, 12 Angry Birds. November 15th and 16th. I guess you can go under the Booster Club Facebook page and find the link for tickets for that.
I was unable to attend the PTO meeting last week, but the book fairs are all taking place this week in the 3 schools and very popular and lots of parents in supporting the book fair and help the kids and the PTO. So thanks to the parents for making that happen. It makes literacy important for kids.
And last, Deb wants to go back to PTO, we need to fill that spot. So I'll be looking for volunteers for the PTO liaison. We'll figure it out, but we do need to fill that spot. Does anybody, I guess that's it for their subcommittee reports. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?